So we'll be distributing cupcakes for the women just to, for the, since 8th March was the International Women's Day, so we thought, let's do something different this time. So, first preference for women here, and what's the So let's just group together the ladies to just have a picture before we start our workshop. Before you get all too tired. You guys can enter the picture too. Okay, guys can help take the picture, that's fine. If you don't want to be in the picture. Make sure all the women are Right, girls. Ladies, let's all. Maybe you need to on the light. Ladies, can we all group together here in this circle? Right. Feel free to comfortable. Melissa, lady. It's fine. But today you can code. We teach you.
Code or code also can.
So W, show W. Hey, I don't have anything to code, but it's fine. Here, get it up.
Melissa, can I see you?
Give me all those clean.
One, two, three.
Okay, one more.
Guys, make sure we all look clean here.
We are very good in Photoshop, no worries.
1, 2, 3.
Alright, thank you. Do you want to take a picture with us?
No.
Yeah, the guys.
We can add ourselves in the
The ratio is very, very skewed.
Oh, sorry.
Yep, I
I'm
think you
looking
can
for
have
you.
this.
Thank you.
Alright, okay. So everybody, ladies and gents, we'll be starting our workshop right now. So maybe for a start, let's clear the tables and go ahead, feel free to sit either here or there. And I think this is usable too. If you need an extension, we have extensions provided. So the workshop will be about an hour.
Okay.
Including the presentation, the workshop and stuff. Then you can take part as well. So basically, we go here.
Right, you want to sit down here?
I think the idea is to interrupt everybody.
How many of you have brought your laptop?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So you can start fixing your laptops and
Fixing.
your PowerPoints if you need extension wire. We need extensions? We can bring them up.
In half an hour.
This table is over 500.
Purple and something.
For those who don't have, maybe you can pair.
Pair programming. Come. Oh, you brought your own as well. Oh, this. Whoa. Yeah, I think we have to move the tables instead.
We do have another.
Oh, the table spin.
There's a pot. Yes. Okay.
Right, is everybody ready? Wow, silent. Is silent
Booting.
and
I'm booting up. I'm booting up.
Okay, so before start, let me introduce myself. I'm Lavanya.
Hello.
I am from Tech. I started off as a developer. I still call myself a software engineer. But basically, currently, right now, I'm managing a team of developers, right, and a QA. So I'm not actively hands-on, but I'm still keeping in touch time to time with this kind of stuff. Today, we are going to talk about TDD. Let's have the coffee machine stop with it. Alright, how many of y'all have heard TDD?
Yeah.
How many of y'all have not heard? Okay. What? Okay, how many of y'all have practiced TDD in your company?
Yeah. A little bit.
Alright.
Manual
so
testing.
How many of you at some point of time have done TDD? Alright, fantastic. So, to be honest, I wasn't sure of the level of how many people knew and how familiar you are. So, as I started with the basics, right? So at the end of the day, you'll see we'll give this away where we want to get more feedback on what you want to hear. So at that point, you can actually give input if you think that's a bit too basic and you want more advanced, right? So at this part, you're not even teaching all the concepts, but something to just get you started, right?
Okay.
Okay, before we go too much into TDD, I think you have seen the first slide I put Code Dojo. How many of y'all have, Renata, you can't hands up, but how many of y'all have know what's Code Dojo? Participated in a Code Dojo? Okay, so let me just go a bit about the basics of Code Dojo. Now, y'all know what's a dojo, right? Regardless of code. A dojo is a place where the martial arts people gather and train. So it's what they found is this is a very good way to train and learn on a problem while we're trying to teach on an approach. Okay? So this is just one way we took to facilitate on teaching TDD. Okay? Bear in mind it's not a competition. It's supposed to be a fun workshop. Okay? There is two types of way normally you can run a code dojo. What we call today prepared kata, and the other one is randori kata. Prepared kata, normally we go through step by step. That means I'm now telling TDD, okay, step 1, let's do this. Step 2, let's do that. And that is why they call it baby steps. Right? Once you're familiar with this, for example, if most of y'all say you have at one point of time done TDD and you are familiar with the basics, there's something called randori kata. Randori kata you can actually pair, and I'll give just a problem. Okay, now let's solve a problem of tic-tac-toe, for example, using TDD, right? And you guys can pair and come up each time, come to the stage and show what's the approach you're taking. But today, because I want to go using the baby steps way, we're going prepared kata. Bear in mind, I'm not 100% following exact thing of a code dojo where normally you need to pair and have observer and all this. I'm not doing that. I'm modified a bit, but I'm just following a bit some of the concepts of code dojo. Anybody has any questions so far? Right, everybody's pretty fine. TDD. Kanban, anybody heard of it? So, it's very, if you are into best practices and all that, he has done a lot of things, but one very famous for is TDD. He's the father, he's the one who championed this. It is, TDD is one of the very popular mechanism in extreme programming. Have you all heard of extreme programming? Extreme programming is when you're pair and you're just trying to deliver things iteratively, quickly. Okay? So, it's a test-first programming. That's why I call it test-driven development. And one thing to remember, the keyword I would say is a repetition of short development cycle. Okay? What we're trying to do here is, we're trying to, given a problem, we are actually taking the simplest way to solve the problem and then improve on it iteratively. Right? That is how TDD is supposed to help. Okay? You write a test. Here you call it rate, green, refactoring. Rate. First, for example, I said I want a function to save my data into a file. Save my data into a data store. Okay? Now when I say a big problem, when I say a general problem, I want to save my profile into a data store. If you notice my, I've not mentioned any technology. I've not said save into a database. I did not say save into a file. I did not say save into a file. Right? Of course, the requirement comes from the product manager, but I did not specify the technology you need to use, Azure Block, AWS, or something like that. I never said that. So when you're using TDD to do, the first thing you do the test and you say save, test, save, profile. You run the test. If it fails, because you have not implemented yet. Okay? Now your first thing to do is to make the test pass. The shortest path to make the test pass. So in the case like this, what's the shortest way? Save data into a file. Right? Rather than seeing what technology you want to use, where do I store it? Where, oh, should I go and use MongoDB? Should I go and use Hadoop? You know, all this, you don't think of that. Use the shortest path. I want to save to a file. Right? Save to a file. Then, it passes. So if you look at the second step, make the code work. The third one, if at a point of time you realize file is just not going to be suitable for me, right? Because you're heavy load, you know it's not going to be suitable for you. You refactor it. But by this time when you refactor it, you'll go through the cycle again and you need to pass. So what it does is, it starts with the simplest step to reach your goal. You refactor it as you find need. So, one thing I want to highlight, having unit tests doesn't mean you've done TDD. So a lot of people I hear, yeah, we do TDD. Okay, how do you do it? We have unit tests, right? Unit test is not TDD. Unit test is the output you get if you do TDD. One of the benefits of doing TDD, you will get a comprehensive unit test. But just because you have unit test, it doesn't mean you do TDD. So a lot of people, in my experience, come with, in fact, I've done this a lot. We write a program, we do the unit test after that. Alright? This is what most people do, including me in most of my career, except when I joined in tech. So, why do I say that just having unit tests you are not going to get the benefit, right? So what TDD does, better code quality. Now when you're actually doing TDD, you're actually thinking a lot about the design. If you actually do TDD, you realize that, you know, singleton is a very dangerous design pattern. I'm not sure. It's one of the design patterns which you should not use unless you need to use. So when you start doing TDD, you realize that, hey, I can't write codes like this. It just prevents you. You won't be able to write a testable code. Remember, each time you write a code, you need to think, is my code testable? If you write a code and it's not testable, then you should throw your code. Right? Whether you're doing TDD or not. you need to make sure your code is testable. But by doing TDD, you will make sure that you're doing a testable code. So it enforces that. Okay? Encourages simple design and concepts. So I've, in my experience with my team, couple of times, over-engineered solution. And I give the file example just because just last year when we did that, we really over-engineered. Right? We nicely did, we thought about, oh, where do we store? Let's store in MongoDB. No, then we start researching on MongoDB, then we start looking at Azure Blob, we look at Amazon, we started looking at everything, right? And then the product manager comes and says, hey, at this point, I don't care for performance. It's just a showcase. It's just for me to go and start showing to customers to get feedback. I don't care where we store, right? If at that point we did TDD, we wouldn't have over-engineered a solution written about 20 class, which is not even needed, because if I write 20 class, I need to write under 20 class of tests, right? So I'm talking from my experience where I really over-engineered, my team and me, really over-engineered a solution. And that's when my manager came in and said, do you do TDD? And I was like, I think so. Then I'm like, I went to my guys and said, do we do TDD? We did reverse engineering. Basically, we did that and then we done the unit test after that. So that was, ever since then, I make sure that every time we do, no matter how painful it is, yes, it is painful, you'll realize, do TDD. And since then, our code is very simple. We write as minimal as possible because each time we write a code, I make sure it's testable. You can't test a code, you don't write a code. Right? So it really encourages simple design. And this is why, this for me is the biggest advantage of TDD, not the unit test which comes out at the end, right? That is for me a plus point, but I really encourage my team, it's mainly because of this line. Actually, these two. Okay? Yeah, the benefit, you can refactor without breaking, right? Any point of time you can come back, you can refactor, safely run, and see whether it's what's happening. So this, I think, is quite clear. Improve maintainability and changeability. And this, I think, comes tied in with refactoring. At any point of time, you can just pass it to another team, say, yep, this is it. You can refactor, we have all the tests there, we have about 90% of coverage, go ahead. If you break it, you'll know. That's what we are doing right now. And to be honest, ever since we did this, initially when I tried to do it in my team, you realize it's actually really very painful. I'll talk about that later. But right now, after we do it, we realize how much it helps in this part, especially the over-engineering part. We developers love to over-engineer. How many of you have over-engineered the code? Wow, you are really good, huh? Okay, then it looks like me and my team does that. But at least in my experience, we love to think about, we get so passionate about technology, we like to do things when it's not immediately needed at that point in time. Okay? Any questions so far? Any feedbacks you have or any suggestions you have from your experience so far? Everybody's quiet. I'm a bit confused myself. Alright, now enough of talking and lecturing. Let's go to real world. Okay, maybe I can just show a rough, just to get some input on the language you're going to use. You're going to use
PHP.
You have a unit test framework installed?
I have a PHP unit.
PHP unit, that's fine. So this one, it doesn't matter what language you want to use. You can pick the language you are most flexible. In fact, when I did this to test, I picked Ruby, and I've never done Ruby. I just wanted to learn Ruby, and because TDD is making things, I suppose, write simple code, it was just easy for me to learn at that point. Your
HTML?
HTML cannot do TDD. Maybe you
PHP
can,
or Ruby.
JavaScript you can do.
Okay, I try.
Yeah, but I'm not familiar with every unit test framework for the language, so you probably need to Google and install.
To be confirmed.
To be confirmed, I like it.
Python.
Python, you have the unit test framework.
No, so.
You have it, right? Okay, fantastic.
JavaScript.
JavaScript, unit test framework got?
No.
Ruby? Unit test framework?
I will do that now.
Minitest is the easiest framework. Minitest.
No.
Node. So I'm not sure what the unit test.
Yeah, I have it.
Okay.
JavaScript Karma.
Okay, you're going to have good karma at the end. What, you have the framework? Unit test framework? You have, okay. Okay, Ruby list. You have the unit test framework? No. I think in Ruby is mini test I use, but that might be something else that I tried in Ruby. Alright. Chica. Okay, and you did? Okay. Alright. So because this program is very simple, it would be a good thing for you to try out a different framework, for you to explore something. It's really very, very simple. Right? Technically I tried coding as well, but it's not easy. Okay, what we are going to do? We are going to do a prepared kata string calculator. Honestly, it's from the internet. I did not create this myself. Okay, so just to explain, this is a simple command line calculator, so you don't have to worry about GUI or anything. It's basically accepting a string as the input, and then you need to do some level of string manipulation, and then sum the numbers from it. Okay, so in terms of technical difficulty, it's very simple. It's not at all complex. It's a bit of regular expression might be if you want to go that approach, but otherwise, let's start from it. So now when I say string calculator, I want to hear what normally you start doing. So my objective of string calculator is this. I'm saying that I want a string calculator. I'm going to pass a string as an input. At the beginning of my string, there would be a delimiter, my preferred delimiter. And based on the delimiter, there might be one or many delimiters. There might be multiple delimiters. Based on those delimiters, you need to split your string. I don't have a mod, but if you can imagine, for example, in a particular format, I pass a delimiter comma, then I put 1, comma 2, comma 3, comma 4. So you need to split it and sum the numbers together. Okay? So if multiple delimiters in the format I will show later, I'll pass maybe comma and dash. Based on that, you need to split them up and sum it up. Okay? And if I'm passing a negative number, you need to throw an exception. So these are my basic requirements. So what do you think the first thing you all will do? Maybe I just hear some feedback. What do you think you'll do with this? What's the first thing you're going to do? So I'm passing I give you my requirements so far. So string calculator, I am going to pass a string inside of the argument. Okay? At the beginning of the string, I will tell you what is the delimiter I select. For example, you can accept one or more delimiters. Okay? So I say maybe my delimiter is comma and dash. Okay? Based on that, you need to split your string. And once you split, let's say 1, comma 2, dash 3, you need to plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, and return the number. If I pass you a negative number, you need to throw an exception. If any of those numbers are negative, you need to throw an exception. This is a stupid dumb calculator. Okay? So normally what do you think you'll do if I say this is my requirement? Where do you think you start? Sorting out the numbers. Where do you think you start?
Into operations and translate numbers.
Okay. Maybe some? Where do you think you start?
Maybe I could just simply check that it is in fact a string.
Alright, okay. So the next one. Can any of this see this thing? Quite small. So first of all, I want you all to need to have an add method. Okay? And with the add method at this stage, let's remember this is baby steps, right? So let's just do step by step. The minute you're done, just stop and say you're done, hold, and then we can go to the next one. The method can take 0 or 1 or 2 numbers. Okay? Now the first thing you do is everybody start creating a test just to pass an empty string to your class, and you need to return 0. For an empty string, we return 0. So that's probably the first thing you do. Pass.
Okay.
Go write a function. It should be called add. Here we have already specified. We accept one input. And to test the first thing, when I'm passing an empty string, it's returning 0. That's the first thing you test. Oh, yeah.
The Wi-Fi. Right there.
Okay, for those who need their Wi-Fi things,
Yes. It's printed on the board as well.
so a few of us will be walking around. Fill up.
So to make a yes, you have to click here and then click there and then you get the password.
But so you need to proceed.
Proceed, yep.
You hold on. Oh,
Yep. So the minute you have done this function, the first thing you do, your test is failure. So you just have an add method and you just have accepting one argument, you return nothing. That's the first thing. Write a test, check whether your test, your first round your test fails. So because it's not returning 0 for empty string, your test will fail. So in most unit test framework, there's something called assert equal. That's something you can use. That's one of the tips I can give.
I don't know how to write PHP unit test.
This test should be a proceeding after you install the server.
Guys, sorry, can you see what I wrote here? Just pay attention to some. Is it? Wow.
Command plus.
So if you notice here, and I'm short, right on top you see I have a setup class. Okay? Right on top, please ignore the rest. Right on top you see a setup. This setup function is normally what you call an initiation function. Where you want to instantiate whatever you need. In my case, a calculator. So that's how I normally do it in Ruby, my setups. And you look at my test for empty string, all I'm checking is 0, pass this. Just do this and see whether your function fails. So obviously you need to have an add class in your calculator, add function in your calculator.
Oh my. Okay.
Yeah.
String count.php. It's a library. I should create a library. Done it.
So have a look at asset equals, that's most likely something you'll be using.